What is real? How do you define real?
Could it be the real Traci Rock?
The real Traci Rock. The real Traci Rock.
The real Traci Rock.
The real Traci Rock.
We will rock you.
We are here live in the studio at Crawford Broadcasting in Denver, Colorado. Welcome to The Real Traci Rock, where we focus on our transparent love for Jesus while discussing real topics with real people. We thrive on reaching the broken and the beautiful by sharing real experiences and authentically answering your questions. This show is being guided by God, so it's time to open our hearts, minds, and spirits. Here's your host, The Real Traci Rock.
All right, let's do this.
Good evening. This is your host, The Real Traci Rock. And tonight we have our friend in the studio, Kirk Samuels, and we're back on that topic. Yep, real relationships. Let's talk about trust, baby. Let's talk about you and me.
On your vibe gun. And put it out of your mind. Come on and get on the grind. It's just a matter of time. 2, 3, 4. We're gonna make it easy on you. Hit it on the one. Just a little bit of funk and swing and then what you doing between, cause it's one. Let it go, cause it ain't no thing, and then one. Hey! No use in trying too hard, you've got to just let it come. When the beat is grooving, just let your body succumb. Your bob gun. Yeah. Then put it out of your mind. Come on and get on the grind. Yeah, it's just a matter of time. 2, 3, 4. We're gonna make it easy on you, yeah. Hit it on the one. Just a little bit of funk and swing and then one. Matter what you're doing between, cause it's one. Oh, let it go, cause it ain't no thing, and then one. Don't sweat it, just sweat. 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 Just sweat. Don't sweat it. Just sweat. Don't sweat it. Just sweat. Gotta hit it on the one.
I love it. It's my girlfriend. Right there. Erin Jo Harris. Woo!
My neck is sore from bobbing my head to that song.
I know. Isn't that
for
nice?
minutes.
Yeah.
I
miss her. I miss her. It's been a while since she's been here. She's out of the country, actually. I don't know. Actually, I met her from my first producer. My second song is my second producer. So we're just having friends night with music.
I'm gonna have to find somebody I know that plays music. Apparently.
Yeah, you're gonna have to play some music there, Christopher.
Gotta get on it.
Get on it. Get on it.
Busy with it.
So, hello, Mr. Kirk.
What's happening?
You're on the Real Tracy Rock.
You said you wanted 10.
I want 10
You better be
on the
ready.
Real Tracy Rock.
You better be ready.
Because we're going to be real.
Real.
Relationships.
Okay to be real.
It's all right. It's all right. It's okay.
I mean, if we're talking about Relationship Wednesday, we got to be real.
Right?
We don't have time to be shallow. Don't have time. Life is too short to be surface.
And you brought the cookies this time.
But the cookies.
Were you feeling guilty because last time?
I was feeling very guilty because I didn't contribute at all last time. I had to step it up a little bit.
Oh my goodness
Had
gracious.
to step it up. And you know cookies are good when the box is greasy.
I know, right? And that's a box.
There's nothing like a box with grease on the inside of it.
But they're homemade too. And I took out awesome Snapchats.
Yeah.
It looked like a human face, did
That's
it
good
not,
stuff.
Christopher?
It was slightly
It's
terrifying.
kind of creepy.
Kind of creepy.
Kind of creepy.
Yet yummy.
That's what your date's going to look like if you eat too many.
Creepy yet yummy.
Oh, Lord have mercy. We need to pray over ourselves before we get started. Oh, we're going to be talking about trust.
Oh, boy. You talk about deep. Ooh.
Trust issues.
Wow.
You have
That's a
trust
little
issues?
word, but it's huge. Huge.
You know, we got to share this because I had the most difficult time having a relationship with Jesus because of my trust issues.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was serious. I mean, I felt like God was just like anybody else, and how could I possibly trust him if I can't trust any, especially men issues in my life, you know? So my relationship hindered quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. You know, when I teach my classes, I start off with, and I call it the day that trust died for me. And there was a day, literally in my life when I was pretty young, that I internally anyway, emotionally, I learned not to trust anyone. There was a day I was in deep need and nobody came to help me. And from that point on, I literally had trust issues. I literally had a hard time, and even today still have a hard time trusting anyone. And if I can't trust someone that I see in front of me, someone that's across the table, or someone that's, you know.
You can trust me.
Of course. You're the only person.
Oh, what?
What?
Christopher's like, what am I,
like,
chopped liver?
What did I do?
What am I, extra cookie over here? Yeah, but from that day on, I honestly had trust issues, and and without trust, you can't be transparent. Without transparency, you can't have intimacy, and without intimacy, you definitely can't have relationship. And so, here we are, Relationship Wednesday. Trust.
Yes. Trust. It's such a difficult thing too, because when that trust is broken, I feel like I give people the benefit of the doubt right off the bat. But as soon as that's broken, for me, especially because of my trust issues, I don't want anything to do with them. It's like I automatically shut down, and it's like the brakes go on, and then it takes me a long time. Not forgiveness. Now I can forgive. I actually have an easier time forgiving people and really just turning them over to God rather than trusting people.
See, I don't have a problem with trusting anyone up to my 3. You can have my 3.
I got your 10.
You got my 10 today. Realness. In my heart, though, you can have my 3. I'm coming in the door with that. But anything beyond that, not so much. And definitely from a 10 level, no. To me that's too creepy. That's very uncomfortable. And a lot of people, quite honestly, in our culture, we can easily associate trust issues with from a female perspective. But men have huge trust issues just across the board. I mean, for a man to trust anyone else with the vulnerability of who he is, and especially, that quite possibly a wounded boy inside of him, a lot of men, and I work with men, a lot of men have that wounded boy inside of them. And to find someone or a safe place to open up and be vulnerable with that is very scary, extremely scary. And as a result, we don't get to the place where we can experience that that intimacy and that connection. That goes from our earthly relationships and even our heavenly relationships. We just can't get to that place of being completely vulnerable because I don't trust you. I don't trust anyone with that part of me, the most delicate part of me, the most delicate part of my manhood. It's a very difficult place for a guy to get to.
Okay, let's go there with the male perspective of the wounded boy. Talk to me about that.
Again, I can't say all men, but speaking from my personal experience and men that I work with, whether it be individually, one-on-one, or collectively as groups, there quite possibly could be a male wound that is really a boy wound at some point, whether it would be through some kind of, violence or some kind of violation, whether it be emotionally, physically, or some other kind of way. We were wounded, and if you will, wounded at a young age where we're stunted. So you can have a grown man that's really a boy inside because he was never able to move past that moment where he was stunted emotionally. And by stunted emotionally, I mean that moment where he was no longer easily, anyway, able to be vulnerable and be transparent and to trust. And so, we have a collection of men physically that are walking around and living amongst us that we have that wound that we can't get past. And with that wound, we got to find something to do with that wound. And what do we do with wound and pain in our culture? We medicate it.
Vices.
Right, exactly. And so, and if a person latches on to a particular vice or some kind of medication, especially at a young age, that works and works well, then that's going to be stuck with him for a very long time. And it's extremely difficult for him to get away from that. That's like getting away from the edge of the swimming pool. Are you kidding me? It's deep out there. It's safe right here. Safety is one of the foundational needs that we have. And so, that includes our emotional safety. And so, to move past that emotional safety into the deep areas, that's extremely dangerous.
You brought your 10. That's deep.
I'm telling you. Boom.
We'll be right back. You're listening to The Real Traci Rock and Kirk Samuels.
Keep on rocking me, baby. Keep on rocking me, baby. Keep on rocking me, baby, baby, baby. Keep on rocking me, baby. Keep on rocking me, baby.
If you're listening right now, you rock. Yay.
Whoop, tell them.
And Lord, I pray that you'll keep us safe and
Come on, Mom, we're ready.
Oh dear, it's 7 o'clock. Let's go, kids, we're late.
Gotta go.
I've come to believe that a rushed or hurried attitude is one of the deadliest enemies of an effective devotional life. I remember years ago hearing Henry Blackaby explain how he had felt rushed in the morning when he woke up to pray and read the Bible. So God convicted him about this, and he started getting up half an hour earlier. He still felt rushed, so he started earlier. Dr. Blackaby said, I kept moving the time up in the morning until I knew that I could meet with God as long as He wanted to meet with me without being hurried. Do you feel hurried when you meet with God? What would it take for you to meet with God as long as He wanted tomorrow morning?
Isaiah 26:9. My soul yearns for you in the night. In the morning, my spirit longs for you.
With Seeking Him, I'm Nancy DeMoss Walgamuth.
Who been a music, intellect, or emotions? Am I doing it for amusement or getting my life in motion? Am I coming up with excuses to stay familiar but frozen? Kicking it with the same people, doing the same things, never roaming out on my own to find my chosen position. And I'm paying attention right now, but am I really listening? It's like we fishermen, not knowing we must fish within to catch the love and peace we once existed in. It's a mind race. Am I wasting time and space? Switching my style like snowflakes to find my place. Do I got what it takes to come face to face with my deepest fear and still stay connected like the states? Yes, I found protection through the gates. A selection we must make. Fear affects and mental state. Temptations catch you with their bait. It's a game we can't escape. It's okay to wait, put on the brakes. Get confident, raise the stakes, yeah. What is direction? What are priorities? What is complexion? What is authority? I ask myself rhetorically. If I passed away tomorrow morning, who out there would be mourning me? What is affection? What is majority? What is obsession? What's living normally? I ask myself rhetorically. If I passed away tomorrow morning, who out there would be mourning me? Another decision.
Do I stay or do I go? Am I letting my life unfold or am I taking the easy road? I don't know. But without change, we cannot grow. Without growth, we cannot glow. Without both, we cannot flow. With the endless energies of life, I follow entities of life. The only frenemies, my mic, an identity that feels right. No pretend to be in sight. When I'm mentally alive, a message sent to me from the skies. We must rise past the lessons of aggressive deception. Suppress depression. Bless but don't believe, false suggestion. Stress, but don't relieve through an obsession. Test, your soul receive without a question. Mesh, thought and emotions as your best friend. Rest, judgmental motives on the next man. Possess the presence in you that stays open. Respect divine and in your mind you find what's potent. What is direction? What are priorities? What is complexion? What is authority? I ask myself rhetorically. If I passed away tomorrow morning, who out there would be mourning me? What is affection? What is majority? What is obsession? What's living normally? I ask myself rhetorically. If I passed away tomorrow morning, who out there would be mourning me? Time to commit, rhymes to repent. Time to separate the authentic from the counterfeit. If it's positive and I could be myself, I'm down with it. I got a lot to give, it's how to live, so get around to it. If you a hypocrite around you hypocrites, you bound to get. I got more talent than people got sin. Man, I'm balancing the world on my finger, ride the rhythm like I'm Malatin. I take a swig and wonder if life's rigged like balancing. Every day my patience is tested, mine is corrected. Find out what I've neglected and see how I'm affected. I feel I'm well directed, we all wanna be respected. I use the method of staying calm and collected. I know the pressure be thrusting, laughing, loving, lusting and fussing, crushing assumptions over meaningless nothings. It's like we always rushing just to get me like percussion. Swerve from learning cause we've grown accustomed to instructions. What is the
You're listening to The Real Tracy Rock, and how you like that there, Christopher?
I think it's awesome. I
You got
definitely.
some competition.
Oh, it's no competition.
No pressure.
No competition.
No
at all.
pressure.
Full pressure.
No
See, my
competition.
producer's got talent. That's
I-
Colin Reynolds right there.
I want to high five the dude next time I see him. Like,
Yeah.
that is awesome.
I know. He's got talent. He's
Mad
got skills.
Skills to pay the bills.
Skills.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. Kirk Samuels is in the studio this evening,
Uh-huh.
and we are talking about trust issues, trust problems, mistakes, all that good stuff. We're professionals in this area.
Yeah. Professionals at mistakes. Yeah. Learn from our mistakes. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. BDE.
BDE, best day ever.
Yes, it is when you're in.
Oh, come
I
on.
gotta tell you. So we were talking about the wounds of the wounded boy
Yes.
and the boy that's walking around that is now a man. And there's a lot of men out there that are walking around that are wounded boys.
A lot of us.
But at the same time, on the girls' side, there are also girls that are wounded and have major trust issues. And when they meet this wounded boy, they have major wounds
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go further there.
Two negatives in that case do not make a positive. And so, yeah, when you have two people that quite possibly, and obviously we're speaking in generalities, it's not every, but this is the place where we learn from our mistakes. So
Wait, I got any of those. Yeah.
But yeah, when you have the scenario where you have two wounded people coming together, it's hard to have a functional relationship with two honestly dysfunctional people, and we can start off in a way that we're not even set up for success, and it can be very extremely difficult to do. But we don't find that out until after the fact, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like a volcano getting ready to erupt before you even get started.
Right.
So that's an issue. So recognizing those issues before you get started, let's talk about that.
Wow. You have to start with the person in the mirror. And I think I hinted on this even last week.
Last week we did.
You got to start with the person in the mirror. But if you cannot look in the mirror, and if you cannot, I believe you should love who you see, but you should also recognize that what you see might need some work. Probably all of us, to
All
some
of
respect,
us need to search our own
some
heart.
kind of work, right?
Right.
I mean, if you're perfect, that's probably the best indication that you need some work. It is.
What do you
And
think, Kirk? I'm not
just-
perfect?
You're as close to as I've
Yeah,
met
no.
today in the last 20 minutes at least.
We all know my boss would be like, if he's listening, he's like, yeah, that's a joke.
But we got to start with that person that we see in the mirror, and then we got to not only love that person, but be willing to work on that person and be honest and true as to, maybe I do have some tweaking. Maybe I do have some things that I need to work on, and maybe that does involve a professional even. But in some ways, we got to be willing to look inside and to be, if you will, critical to see ourselves almost from the outside in terms of, let me look at my past, let me look at who I am, and let me look at kind of the things under my hood, if you will.
Well, from a girl's side and a girl's perspective, I've noticed that men have a hard time with the realization that there might be an issue and a little bit of pride there in, I don't need help. I don't need anyone. I don't need to go to counseling. Is that the majority of men, Mr. Samuels?
I wouldn't even hesitate to talk about the majority of men. I will talk about myself. And I will say that for me, the day that trust died, what it did was it told me that I'm the only one that has to protect that little boy. No one is going to protect that little boy but me. And so even as a man, I'm still trying to protect that little boy. And by that, I mean, when you talk about the pride thing or being guarded, well, again, if I don't trust you, then I'm not going to let that guard down and reveal that little boy, because you might hurt him. You might hurt him like other people have.
It's the same for girls, though.
I'm sure.
Same guard that I put up. I'll talk about myself just briefly, is that I have a hard time trusting anyone, but especially people that have broken that trust. And when they continue to lie or they continue to be hurtful, and then not taking accountability and being transparent about who they really are and searching their own heart and being responsible for their actions.
So I work with men that struggle with the issue of pornography. Prime example. For this guy to look at the woman that he's with or the woman that he's getting with in terms of, developing or beginning a relationship, trust looks like to him, I cannot, or maybe I probably can't, or at least I feel like I cannot come to you with the most vulnerable parts of me to let you know that these are my insecurities and these are the things that I struggle with. These are the things that I may need, because I feel like maybe you'll judge me in that kind of way. And if he's unable to communicate that, but he finds an outlet somewhere else, another entity, I'm not justifying it, I'm explaining it. If he finds another entity that is non-judgmental completely, I mean, I call her the IP mistress. When he looks to her and when he sees something that never judges him, that never criticizes him, that he can come to at his weakest moments, and this thing, though artificial, this thing fills a real need for him, then that becomes a safe place. And so he'll go to that and not be able to go to the one that he's supposed to go to for that vulnerability and for that transparency and for that connection and for that relationship. So he ends up developing a relationship with that as opposed to what he's supposed to. And again, I'm not justifying, I'm explaining how something artificial can take that place, because emotional vulnerability and emotional pain is the same as physical pain in our bodies. Right. We're wired that way. And so for him to find that outlet somewhere else, it's actually a trust issue. It's an indicator of a trust issue in his own marriage. For some reason, or his own relationship, for some reason, he hasn't crossed that true transparency and vulnerability bridge with the woman that he's with, that he can't come to her with the deepest parts of who he is. He can't leave his tears on her shoulder for some reason. And so he has to guard that, and he has to protect that. And unfortunately, that also may indicate or may involve covering up with something artificial and something that's damaging, which of course leads to her not trusting him because he's not coming to her with his most...
And he's lying and doing all kinds of things where you're not supposed to.
Right.
Big no-nos.
Yeah.
So Kirk Samuels is in the studio with us, and if you're just joining us, we're talking about trust issues. But Kirk is also a speaker, an author. Talk about your book before we go into break.
Boy, well, that book project is it actually comes out of my experience, my personal experience, but then my experience teaching a class, my experience working with men 101. I do work with men 101, and I found a lot of commonalities just in what that experience is like. A lot of commonalities that I couldn't find documented anywhere else. Like, here's what the experience is like from the inside out. And so, that Fred G. Sanford voice kicked in, write the book, dummy.
Dummy.
And so I wrote the book, and now I'm in the process of publishing that thing. But it all comes out of like I said, my own experience and the class that I teach, working with men one-on-one, just what that experience is like from the inside out. And so it's I believe it's going to be a game changer. I'm extremely excited about it.
I'm excited for you.
It is my heart's passion.
Your website?
www. Do we have to say W?
No, I know.
We don't have to say that anymore. Come on, that is so old. You don't even need to type that in anymore.
I'm like, yep.
But it's freeindeed36.com. The number freeindeed, the number 36.
Indeed 36.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back. You're listening to The Real Tracy Rock.
Wait, hold up. This is my favorite part.
Stay up to date and in the loop with The Real Tracy Rock by following her on Twitter at MyTracyRock and also searching for her on Facebook at The Real Tracy Rock.
Do you want to make a positive difference for Jesus Christ? If so, where do you begin? Hi, I'm Steve Douglas for Making Your Life Count. And Amelia Rhodes says her neighborhood was a great starting point.
I started praying for my community simply by walking around my neighborhood. We had a lot of empty lots, and every time I would walk past an empty lot or a house being built, I just simply prayed for the family that would purchase that home and the family that would move in, that God would help us to be good neighbors, that He would show us how to love them. And it grew from there. When I was feeling really overwhelmed a couple years ago about all the needs around me, a friend had called with a struggling adoption. Another friend had called with a failing marriage. And everybody asks, will you pray for me? And I say, yes, I will pray for you. And I would pray on the spot, fearing I would forget to pray later.
Amelia uses a helpful system for prayer, one we could all use.
So I asked God to help me be more faithful in praying for my friends and my family and the community around me. And at that point, I had this idea of praying A to Z, because I recognize so many people struggle with the same things. How many people do we know that are going through cancer? How many people do we know that are struggling with depression? How many people do we know whose marriages are struggling? Or even if their marriages aren't struggling, they could just use that extra support. And so this idea of coming up with an A to Z prayer list kind of came to me. I think it was a gift from God, and I started praying. A, adoptions. B, bullying, and praying for the teachers in the school. C was for cancer. D was for depression. And it was a way to just focus on one topic a day or one topic a week and remember all of the people that I knew that were struggling with those particular things. And it just grew from there.
Prayer is transformational. It transforms you, and it transforms those around you. Do you want to learn more? Go to makingyourlifecount.com.
You're listening to The Real Tracy Rock with my friend Kirk Samuels in the studio this evening.
I'm going to sit still and look pretty.
You're going to look pretty.
I look pretty. I got my shirt
you
on.
You look real pretty. With the purple on. I was going to wear purple. We could have been twinsies.
We could have.
Wonder Twins.
Purple is a royal color.
I know, but I have pink because I was thinking February.
Yeah.
I'm preparing myself for Love Month.
Okay.
Hey, which by the way, I got flowers and I got a voucher for $100 for something special, and I got the Sherry Berries in the mail yesterday.
Nice.
I know, but I don't know who they're from.
Hey, Cece, you still owe me half for all that, aren't you? You ain't chip in
I'll
on
bring
that yet.
them. I'll bring them. Well, actually, they might not be around by next week.
Me and him talked about it. He didn't chip in his half yet. I just want to let him know. I just want to
Oh,
remind him.
it was you two. Yeah, because you're preparing me for
exactly.
Yeah, February, right?
Well, you needed some
Take the credit.
uplifting.
Take the credit, you two. Take it because no one else is
He still
taking
owes
it.
me.
Yeah.
He still owes me half.
He said he would spot me. I mean, we haven't figured out. Like,
Dude, I spotted you for like half a day so far, man. Come on. It's almost a second.
We haven't worked out an installment plan yet here,
Installment
man.
plan.
I know it was expensive.
Man.
Well, yeah, those Sherry Berries, they're not joking around.
How about you plan to install that money in my pocket? How about that?
I'm
Well,
just a poor
you know-
ex-college student.
Well, my boss our wonderful, wonderful boss, Mike Treem here, he made a really good point. He said, before he left this evening, he was like, well, maybe someone just sent them to you and they don't want you to know who it was, just to show that there are good men out there. They don't want you to know who it is. I don't know.
I'm telling you, you got two of them right here in the space.
Yes, I know. I do.
And I want my half, dude. I want my half, man. You owe me.
So I'm just going to thank you all. Thank you for being gentlemen.
You are welcome.
Hey, if just by any chance it's not us and they're listening, this will be enough to make him jealous and be like, oh, whoa.
It was us, man. Come on.
Okay, so thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I appreciate you both. So, yes, Love Month and trust issues. And we were talking about being objectified.
Yes.
And on the girl side, how I have felt as, dating and even growing up as a little girl and the abuses that I've had to overcome. And then just being transparent and real after that. Yeah. And just sharing, what I've gone through. And so that took a lot of trust to go and put my big foot in the water and just be authentic about who I am.
Unfortunately, our culture has and is moving more and more to a place where women are objects and objectified. And again, I think the giant that I choose to fight has a whole lot to do with that, if not a lot. And it's unfortunate because, as an object, that would make you something to be consumed, and that should not be the way it is. I have 3 daughters, and that scares me. It absolutely does, because any young man that comes in my path, I want to talk to him,
right?
Because you're not objectifying my daughter, or I'm objectifying you.
And what a blessing it is that your daughters have a godly father, and that he does want to talk to them. But the problem is there's a lot of girls out there that don't have that. I mean, if they're, when you're a little girl, you want to twirl around and be like this dancer and ballerina. If they're, if you don't have a father to twirl around in, they're going to find somebody to twirl to.
Right.
And so that's an issue. Yeah. And not feeling the love and understanding how to love well through their fathers.
Yeah. And as fathers, and there are a lot of good fathers out there.
There are.
I would honestly say, maybe, historically, I don't know, over the past several decades or whatever, dads have gotten a bad rap, and some deservedly. And there are still some today, I'm sure, that deserve to get a bad rap. But I know a lot of great dads. And quite honestly, I know a lot of great dads that want to be a better father, if not for even some things that are kind of getting in the way of that. But there are a lot of good men out there that crave that role, that really want to be that in our culture. And so, it's not just me. There are a whole lot. I know a lot of great guys. I know a lot of great guys that are great dads. And a lot of us did not have a good role model. Mm-hmm. So we are trying to figure this out as we go. Mm-hmm. So to say, be a good man, be a good father, be a good husband, well, I don't know what any of those are, because I never saw any of that growing up. None of that was modeled to me. And so I have to figure it out. And part of figuring out is trial and error. And so I'm going to make some mistakes. And part of that growing process is hopefully when I fail or when I fall forward. But I'm going to make mistakes because I don't know what I'm doing. I know what I would have loved to have had in a father. Right. And all I can do is try to put that in a role of this is who I want to be, at least the best I can. But it doesn't come naturally. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, it takes a whole lot of work.
Well, I was talking to my son on the way to school today, and, he's had a rocky road with fathers and a father denying him. And, it's interesting because we have such great conversation, and some of my best times are in the car, just talking to my kids. And I told them, D'Artagnan, the best thing that you have is a father in heaven that loves you. Mm-hmm. That's your father. Forget the men that have just been, wimpy mm-hmm. in his mm-hmm. life. Mm-hmm. Don't think about things like that, mm-hmm. Because they are human. They do make mistakes. They have issues. But you have a godly father that loves you so much that he brought you in this world. And so we were just talking about him having him as a father and knowing who he is and having his identity through Christ rather than an earthly father.
That's a hard bridge to cross for a man, because it's like, yeah, but I need the guy in the stands cheering for me.
Right.
I need the guy hugging me and showing me how to do it.
And it is and I can resonate with him because I'm on the girl side of the same thing. And I have to remind myself, it's a constant reminder that I don't need affirmation from an earthly father. I don't need affirmation from an earthly man. That doesn't give me the qualities that I need to be or who I intended to want to be for God.
Yeah, but
Am I making sense?
But it takes a man to raise a man, and so even now, even though I didn't have that growing up, now as I get around other men, and that iron begins to sharpen each other, then I become the man that I really want to be. I have some great friends now that can help me develop into that manhood.
Oh, a light bulb just went on. Do you think
Was that
the wounded boys that are sharpening each other in these groups and Bible studies and together?
That's the magic. That's the magic. When we get together, and when we get together on purpose and with a purpose and for a purpose of specifically making each other better, then that is the whole concept of iron sharpening iron, where I didn't grow up with that, but I can become that because I have guys that are working with me and that are helping me mold into that.
That's awesome. We'll be right back. You're listening to The Real Tracy Rock.
You're listening to The Real Tracy Rock.
Can I get an amen?
Here's Dr. Charles Stanley, keeping believers in touch with God.
Oftentimes, it requires courage to obey God. There's some things that are very difficult for us to do as believers. And oftentimes, God will give us challenges, and we think, Lord, you must have made a mistake. No way. There's no possibility of me doing that. But God doesn't make any mistakes, and that's the way God stretches our faith. That's the way He grows us up, by pushing us ahead to face circumstances and situations and obstacles and trials and assaults in life that grow us up in our faith, that strengthen us, and each one giving Him the opportunity of demonstrating His faithfulness and the capacity He's given us to survive in those kind of situations.
For help and hope from God's Word, visit In Touch with Dr. Charles Stanley at intouch.org.
You're listening to The Real Tracy Rock. And I think it's time to pick on Christopher Kirk.
CC.
All right, I'm ready.
C squared. How you doing over there?
I'm doing great. And it's funny that y'all keep using that nickname. Every time I just think back to high school.
So, Kirk.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm here. I'm eating a cookie, but I'm here.
The Cookie Monster. The Cookie Monster's
I was like
in the
mid-bite.
studio.
That's why I say it.
He literally was here.
I was like,
take a
That's
bite.
cold.
That was
That's cold.
awesome.
That's all right.
I wish we would have had that on
Yeah.
Facebook Live right there. That was awesome. Oh.
I was totally.
He was mowing.
Nom, 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 nom.
I was just going to say he's getting married, so we should pick on him because
Yes.
we're talking about two unhealthy people coming together.
No pun intended.
And yeah,
We're sure you're healthy.
but Christopher's healthy,
Yeah.
and they're getting very healthy. Actually, it's
a-
amazing.
It's a process, but we're
It
getting
is
there.
a process,
And
but
we
it's
haven't
so
killed each
cool to
other.
actually witness the whole process with y'all.
Yeah.
It-
So how do you feel about all that
All the-
process?
Well, I'm loving it. It's sad too because there's plenty of people I know who, it's really easy to point, and I love people in my life who are trying to protect me, but there's plenty of people in your life that will try to tell you, oh, well, there's tons of people, what I'm trying to get across, that you can have in your life that will very easily sit there and say,
Dream
oh,
killers.
Oh, well, no, not even that. Just, oh, well, this is all their fault. This is all, why are you dealing with this? They've got this problem and this problem and this problem.
Oh, okay, I'm with you now.
Very rarely do we sit there and say, no, now wait a second. They've got their problems, but I got plenty of my own. I could write a laundry list, and so could they, but we're willing to admit that much.
It's two imperfect people coming together.
Well, and a lot of people these days don't want to admit that. They can list off a billion different reasons why it's the other person's fault, but very few people are willing to take a look in the mirror like y'all were mentioning and say, this is what I can do to change. This is what I can do to improve, because they're comfortable where they are, stagnating.
Right. Well, and that's good if you're in a healthy spot with both of you coming together equally yoked, where you have issues on both sides and being imperfect. But, however, when someone is stepping over boundaries and where it gets abusive emotionally, emotional abuse is worse than physical abuse, because the emotional stays with you forever. The physical, the bruises go away.
Which, thankfully, I've been very careful about. We've kind of had opposite relationship pasts, but she's had at least 2 different guys in past relationships that were emotionally abusive, and that's taken a lot of, that's a lot of hurdles to overcome. But, I mean, I'm one of the few people in her life who have stuck through that and tried to build her up through it, and that's what I want.
Well, and instead of, you edify her rather than tearing her down. There's a big difference, because if you were tearing her down all the time, she would actually flip back to her old ways.
Well, and I don't want a robot. I don't want someone who always says, no, it's my fault. You're right. No, you're right. I don't want to be built up like that, because that's wrong. And you know what? The world is filled with different avenues for judgment of what is wrong with you. We all have a billion different things in our lives that point at us daily, and we got plenty of voices in our heads that tell us daily everything that's wrong with us. I mean, we don't need to get reminded.
I don't need to be told over and over how many issues I got.
We got plenty of that going on without another person in your life going, well, it's just like added weight on your back.
But here's the reality. Everyone is someone's ex.
That's very true.
And everyone is someone's ex. And this is true for all of us, the common factor in every one of our broken relationships is us.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I'm willing to admit the mistakes I made in my relationship before Ashley. I mean, I went on a near 6-year single streak because it was a whole mix of reasons. I was all kinds of
got you beat
mixed
there,
up.
Christopher.
Oh, yeah, you do. You got like...
That ain't nothing, dude.
Your name is like next to the gold star on the list of records here.
Oh,
You've been staying strong.
That, through my last relationship, though, I realized that God still has healing to do in me, and I still need to search my own heart, because there's things that still need to be worked on, and there'll always be stuff that needs to be worked on. I understand that. However, I'm able to step out of that and say, this is not healthy. I need to put up a boundary.
Yeah, that's the healthy part, is being able to recognize, okay, I may have things that I need to work on, but at the same time, is this situation toxic for me? I mean, is this situation, absolutely killing me? And I mean, that therein lies the fine line. But when you begin with the person in the mirror, and when you begin with that and recognize that there are contributing factors. I mean, there are 2 people in the relationship, and there are contributing factors on both ends. But when I start with me, especially going into something, when I start with me and use that as the only one I can work on, is me. The only one I can fix or change is me.
Intimacy.
Exactly.
Intimacy.
Yeah. And that intimacy is huge. And intimacy is not even just intimacy can be, there's really no other way to say it. Intimacy is not just purely a sexual thing, if you will.
Right.
I mean, quite honestly, some of the people that I am the most intimate with, I've never had sex with. I mean, my best friends, we're close and we're open. And,
absolutely.
Intimacy is something deeper than just a one-dimensional kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But when I can look into me, and when I can allow you to look into me, then that's when we have the intimacy. That rhymed. Wow. Ooh.
Right, I know.
Boom.
You're a poet and you didn't know it.
I'm a poet.
Mic drop.
Mad skills. I need to put out like a CD or something.
I know you.
Be a
I know.
former producer that has a song that you put on.
Hey,
I'm doing it.
Hey, get in line. Get in line, buddy.
I'm doing it.
Get in line.
I'm going to production studio when we're done here.
Get in
I'm
line,
doing it.
buddy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, well, you have a lot of good lines too. Every week it's just like, oh, that's a good one. I got to remember that, but I never remember.
And then, our earthly relationships are a reflection or at least some indicator of the capacity of our relationship with our Creator. In that, how much do I really trust God? How much do I really trust Him? I mean, and that's a hard question to ask because it's politically correct to say, oh, I trust God, trust the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. I get that. But looking at our lives and the way we live our lives,
It's
do we
so
really
hard.
trust Him?
It's so hard,
do we
especially if you find yourself in a situation where you felt like you have overcome a stronghold in your life, and then all of a sudden you're back in a situation where it's like, holy cow, how did I get here? Yeah. And then you're questioning your faith because it's like, wait a minute, okay, God, I'm trusting you with all my might, all I have, and this is what happens. Like it's like, and then you start questioning, and I really believe that's from the enemy. He wants you to back away and not receive what God has for you and what He has intended for you in your life.
Yeah, and it's all meant to isolate us. It's all meant to cut us off from that relationship, from any other relationship. The whole idea of broken trust. It's a way to get us to shrink further and further into the cave of ourselves, into the cave of me. And that cave of me is the opposite of intimacy. Ooh!
It's on
If
fire.
there was
He is
not a
on roll.
microphone, wire on this, I would drop this microphone so hard. But
He is on fire.
cave of me pushes me into the dark place where it's cold and lonely and miserable and it's isolation and.
Well, and then what happens there, though, when you get to that point, and sometimes bad choices equal bad consequences. So you made those choices to go into that hole in that cave. Then all of a sudden you want to fill the void with people or whatever the vice is and not ever heal from the true problem. And you're always going to receive that same problem.
I'm always going to come back to that.
Always.
Yeah, to come back to that and it's a vicious cycle. It never ends.
It never ends. It will never end
And
until you go to the root of the problem.
It ends up with you being alone and isolated. And the only thing God said wasn't good during that creation week was man being alone.
Right. No bueno.
No bueno at all.
Definitely not.
Wow.
Okay, so we only have a few minutes left.
Come on. Are you serious?
Yes, sir.
So, we got
cookies to still
There's
eat.
a whole box of cookies
A whole
up here.
box.
Grease still coming through the box.
So good. So
wow.
Let's encourage somebody that's feeling lonely out there and really having a hard time trusting God.
It's baby steps, but baby steps are still steps. And we have to move to a place of trust. We have to almost force ourselves into positions of trust, little by little, and obviously in safe places. But we have to first trust in God, period. And then trust in ourselves to be good people and to have a good heart and to have good intentions and that sort of thing. And then move forward with trusting each other. Sometimes that takes professional help. But either way, we need to move to that place because that's where reconciliation is. That's where trust, that's where intimacy, that's where real relationship is.
Real relationship. I love that.
That's genius.
I know.
Whoever came up with that.
Who came up with that? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
All right, my friend. Could you do me a favor and please pray us out?
Absolutely. Heavenly Father, we thank you for just this evening, this opportunity. You are invincible, and you are so awesome that you can use two broken sticks to draw some straight lines, and we thank you for that. And so, Lord, we just give this time to you, and we just lift you up, and we put it all in your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for this show. We know this show belongs to you 100%. Thank you for being real with us. More real than ever before, because now we're starting to see the real you. We love you so very much. We want to glorify your name, and we want to make you smile. Until next time, keep your feet on the rock.